Okay, you can begin.
Değerli meslektaşlarımız, hepinize bir yaz gününden günaydın diyoruz. Bugün Türkiye Romatizma Araştırma Savaş Derneği'nin resmi yayın organı olan Archives of Rheumatology'nin bilimsel yazı yazmayla ilgili olarak webinarlarından bir tanesini daha yapacağız. Ben bugün özellikle araştırma yapmak isteyen ve araştırmalarını yayına dönüştürmek isteyen meslektaşlarımıza oldukça faydalı olacağını düşündüğüm bir program olduğunu düşünüyorum. Umuyorum sizler de beğenirsiniz. Değerli meslektaşlarım, bu toplantıya YouTube üzerinden izleyebiliyorsunuz. YouTube üzerinden sorularınızı sorabilirsiniz alt tarafa mesaj olarak. Özgür Hoca, Özgür Akgül Hoca, kendisine de çok teşekkür ediyorum. Organizasyonda büyük emeği var. Onları toplayacak, her sunumun sonunda ben Olena ve Armen Gasparyan'a bunu ifade edeceğim. Şimdi ben sizlerle nereden geldik diye bir ufak bir açılış yapmak istiyorum. Aynı zamanda dergi hakkında da son zamanlarda yaşanan durumları da bir özetlemek istiyorum. Bugünkü kursumuz Ironman Uruguas ve Olena Zimba'nın katılımıyla söz konusu olacak. Ben de bunu modere edeceğim. Peki biz daha önceden neler yaptık? Bu aynen dizi filmler gibi Previously on Scientific Writing diye bahsedecek olursak, Olena ile Armen bu kongremize gelememişlerdi. TÜRKROM 2019'da ilk kursumuzu yapmıştık. Bilimsel yazı planlama ve yazma konusuyla ilgili. Burada değerli editör yardımcısı arkadaşlarımla beraber oldukça güzel bir toplantı geçirmiştik. Sonrasında Armen, you can remember this photo, I think. Aynı sene 2019 yılında, at the same year, there was a Young Tiller Symposia in Ankara, and Armen came to Ankara, and we had a meeting in Ankara. We had a workshop that was a fine memory, and this is another picture of Armen from 2019. Sonrasında salgın başladı. Salgın başladıktan sonra ara vermedik işin açıkçası. Neler yapabiliriz diye webinarlar imdadımıza yetişti. Bu webinarlar imdadımıza yetiştikten sonra Ekim 2020'de ilk webinarımızı yapmış olduk. Yine Armen ve Olena'yla. Oldukça güzel bir webinar geçti. Bugün birazcık daha farklı konular da var. Bu sene online kongremizde değerli editör yardımcısı arkadaşlarım Esra Giray ve Özge Kiniş Coşkun ile bir workshop daha düzenledik kongre sırasında ve bugünkü webinara kadar geldik. Ben size Archives of Rheumatology'nin mutfağındaki isimlerden kısaca bahsetmek istiyorum. Profesör Doktor Özgür Akgül, Manisa Celal Bayar Üniversitesi'nde romatoloji alanında çalışıyor. Kendisi bugün bu teknik olarak da bu webinarı yapılmasında çok büyük emeği var. Kendisine bir kez daha teşekkür ediyorum. Sıradan devam edeceğim. Alfabetik sıra veya herhangi bir sıra değil bu. Özge Keniş Coşkun, Marmara Üniversitesi Fiziksel Tıp ve Rehabilitasyon alanında beraber aynı anabilim dalında çalışıyoruz. Genç arkadaşımız, oldukça yetenekli bir yardımcı editör. Sibel Ünsal Deli Alioğlu, Ankara'da şehir hastanesinde çalışıyor. Sibel Ünsal Deli Alioğlu benim de aynı üniversiteden yıllardır arkadaşım, değerli bir araştırmacı ve bilim adamı. Armen Yuri Gasparyan'ı birazdan ayrıntılı olarak tanıtacağım sizlere. Bizim aynı zamanda advisory editörümüz, bize her konuda destek olan bir pozisyonu var. Figen Ayhan, değerli hocamız, Ankara Hastanesi'ndeki görevinden emekli olduktan sonra, sanıyorum yanlış hatırlamıyorsam Atılım Üniversitesi'nde şu an çalışmakta. Kendisi de dergimizde beraber yardımcı editör olarak devam ediyoruz. Zafer Günendi hocamız Gazi Üniversitesi Fizik Tedavi Rehabilitasyon ve Romatoloji bilim dallarında görevli. Kendisi en yeni yardımcı editörümüz ve çok değerli bir bilim insanı. Çok da kendisinin katkısı oluyor. Aslına bakarsanız ben onu ulusal kahraman olarak bahsetmek istiyorum. binlerce çocuğa pediatrik romatolojik alanında şifa dağıttıktan sonra bizim dergimizde yardımcı editörlük görevini kabul ederek bizlere çok büyük bir onur sunan Özgür Kasapçapur hocamız Cerrahpaşa Üniversitesi Pediatrik Romatoloji Bilim Dalı'nda. Esra Giray Özkan yardımcı editörümüz doçent doktor Fatih Sultan Mehmet Hastanesi'nde görevli. Kendisi de genç bir araştırmacı. Çok sayıda yazıya imza atıyor. Güzel işlere de imza atacağını hepimiz biliyoruz. Kendimi tanıtmayacağım. Beni biliyorsunuz editör olarak görev yapıyorum arkadaşlar. Meltem Alkan Melikoğlu, Erzurum Üniversitesi Fizik Tedavi Rehabilitasyon ve Romatoloji alanında değerli hocamız. Geçen kongrenin de başkanıydı zaten. Yıllardır emek veriyor dergiye. Benden daha eski ve çok değerli bir bilim insanı. Ve Olena Zimba, birazdan kendisinden ayrıntılarıyla bahsedeceğim. Ben işin mutfağındaki bu arkadaşlarımıza bilabedel yaptıkları büyük hizmet için huzurlarınızda bir kere daha teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Çünkü gerçekten verdikleri emek oldukça önemli. Ve Archives of Rheumatology son yıllarda önemli bir ivme kazandı yayıncılık hayatında. Birazcık bunlardan bahsetmek istiyorum. Bu slaytta senede bastığımız makale sayılarından bahsedebiliriz. Daha önceden 70-80 civarında olan makale sayıları senede 4 defa basılan bir dergi için artık 88-90-100 bandına doğru çıkmaya başladı. 2021 yılında henüz daha 2 sayı varken 65 tane yazı basmışız. Bu yazılarımızı kuruluşundan bu yana olarak düşündüğünüz zaman 669 çalışmanın 351'inin Türkiye'deki araştırmacılar tarafından yapıldığını, daha sonra Çin, Güney Kore, Japonya, Hindistan, Mısır, İran ve Amerika Birleşik Devletleri yayınlarının bunu takip ettiğini görebiliyoruz. Büyük bir ağırlık Türk yayıncıların yapmış olduğu yayınlarla ilgili. Fakat son yıllarda bu durum birazcık değişmekte. 2018'deki rakamlardan bahsedebiliriz. Bu sisteme toplam olarak kayıt edilmiş makale sayısını gösteriyor. 2018 yılında hala case report kabul ediyorduk ve senede 343 tane makale geliyordu. Bunların ağırlığı gene Türk otörler tarafından belirgin olarak paylaşılıyordu. 2019 yılına geldiğimizde 2019'un Mayıs ayından itibaren artık makale sayısı çok arttığından, araştırmalara yeterince yer kalmadığından case reportları devre dışı bırakmaya karar verdik. Ve bu rakamı bir miktar düşürdü. Case reportlar hala gelmeye devam etti ilk 6 ay boyunca. Fakat sonrasında case report kabul etmemeye başladı. Sonrasında derginin atıfı artmaya başladıkça rakam artmaya başladı. Toplamda 402 makale geldi. Hiç case report yok. Bunların çok büyük çoğunluğu araştırmayla alakalı ve yabancı ilgisi, yabancı araştırmacı ilgisi dergiye artmaya devam etti. Bu senenin ilk 7 ay sonunda hala dergimize ilginin çok yoğun olduğunu söyleyebilirim. Çok da artıyor. Gene herhangi bir şekilde review gelse de çok fazla kabul etmiyoruz. Review'ları genellikle biz araştırmacılara önerme eğilimindeyiz. 310 tane şu ana kadar makale gelmiş. Türk'le yabancı araştırmacı sayısı yaklaşık birbirine eşitlenmiş durumda. Scopus verilerine göre bizim aldığımız atıflarda çok önemli bir artış olduğunu buradan görebiliriz. 2017-2018'de 80-90 civarında olan atıf sayısı 2019 itibarıyla her sene 2'ye katlayarak devam ediyor. 2021 yılının ilk 7 ayının sonunda 2020'yi neredeyse yakalamış durumdayız. Bu rakamın artışın ivmesinin birazcık daha azalarak devam edeceğini ifade ediyoruz. Tabii bu aldığımız atıf sayısı ne için önemli? Dergimizin değeri açısından önemli. Bu impact score değerleri. Bakın bu 0.2 civarlarındayken 2019'da 0.7'ye, 2020'de 1.13'e kadar çıkmış durumda. Dolayısıyla dergimizde belirgin bir ivmelenmenin olduğunu söyleyebiliriz. 2021 atıf skoru henüz gelmedi ve bu ne için önemli? Aynı zamanda dergimizin bulunduğu dilimi göstermek açısından önem taşıyor. Bakın 44. sırada Acta Rheumatologica Portuguesa var, 45'te Archives of Rheumatology var ve Q4'teyiz. Aynı etki büyüklüğüyle Portuguesa'nın altında gözüküyoruz. Fakat şunu rahatlıkla söyleyebilirim, bu da Web of Science verileri. Web of Science verilerinde de benzer bir durum söz konusu. Atıfımız giderek artıyor. Şu mavi çizgi atıf sayılarımızı gösteriyor ve 2020 Web of Science verilerinde impact faktörümüz bir önceki sene 0,73'tü, 1,47'ye kadar yükselmiş durumda. Bu bu impact faktörle Acta Rheumatologica Portuguesa'yı da geride bırakmış durumdayız. Umuyoruz ki Q4'ten Q3'e doğru bir geçişimiz söz konusu olacak. Ben bu başarıda çok önemli bir kuruma hakkını teslim etmek ve teşekkür etmek istiyorum. TRAS'ta vermiş olduğu koşulsuz destek için çok teşekkür ediyorum TRAS Yönetim Kurulu'na. Başta Şebnem Ataman ve Hatice Bodur hocalar olmak üzere Zafer Günendi, Bilal Ecesoy, Erhan Çapkın, Tuncay Duröz, Gülcan Güler, Özgür Akgül ve Fatih Çay hocalarıma vermiş oldukları destekler için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çünkü dergimiz bir açık erişimli dergi. Bu şu anlama geliyor, okurlardan herhangi bir ücret talep edilmiyor. Dünyada böyle dergi sayısı bir elin parmağı kadar kaldı. Yazarlar herhangi bir şekilde submission, yükleme veya yayın değerlendirme veya basım ücreti de ödemiyorlar. Aynı zamanda bu ve benzeri organizasyonlara destekleriyle TRAS gerçekten üyelerine çok önemli bir bilimsel hizmet veriyor. Ben çok teşekkür ediyorum TRAS'ta tüm bunların sebebi oldukları için. Bugüne geri dönecek olursak, bugün birazcık daha farklı bir programla karşı karşıyayız. Elbette birbiri içerisine geçmiş olacak. Geçmiş toplantılarda şunları sıklıkla vurguladık. Bir araştırma nasıl planlanır? Araştırma planlanmasındaki önemli noktalar, bu planlanmış olan araştırma ve sonuçlar nasıl yazıya dökülür ve yazı sonrası, basım sonrasındaki yayının promosyonu nasıl yapılır? Bugün de benzer konular fakat farklı noktalardan bahsedilecek. Konuşmacılarımız, Advisor editörümüz Ironman Uruguas ve Associate editörümüz Olena Zimba. Bundan sonrasını İngilizce olarak devam edeceğim izninizle. Olena Zimba ve Ironman Gasparyan da İngilizce olarak sizlere sunacaklar. Today's program is about improving scientific writing and reviewing skills. The first speaker is Ironman Uruguas. Ironman Uruguas is associate professor and he has involved in research on cardiovascular issues in inflammatory rheumatic disorders since 1994. He has got his PhD degree for studies of cardiovascular involvement in familial Mediterranean fever. He is a research fellow in thrombosis and cardiovascular rheumatology in the United Kingdom since 2008. He is also honorary professor of Simkent State Pharmaceutical Academy since 2017 and visiting professor at several medical universities in Kazakhstan. He has very high contribution to Archives of Rheumatology, but he is also editor-in-chief and in another valuable journal, Rheumatology International. Today, second lecturer is Olena Zimba. She is also associate editor of Archives of Rheumatology. She has been involved in research on cardiovascular morbidity and mortality in rheumatic diseases and particularly systemic vasculitis. She ran master classes on connective tissue dysplasia and systemic vasculitis for general practitioners and rheumatologists in Ukraine. Dr. Zimba is Associate Editor at Rheumatology International and also in Archives of Rheumatology. In 2018, she has appointed at EMONET Counter-Liaison Officer for Ukraine, and in 2019 to 2020, she was Research Fellow at Clinical Epidemiology Department of the Manchester University, United Kingdom. So I would like to give my word to Armen Gasparian. They will say hello to you and they will start their lectures. Armen, welcome and thank you again firstly. Olena, welcome to our webinar and thank you very much for your joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will stop share my presentation and you can start.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me express my gratitude to TILAR administration, to Şebnem Ataman, Hatice Bodur, Özgür Akgül, and other guys, our friends. I know all of them in person, so we've been in touch over the past 10 years, and I really appreciate their collaboration, support, and interest in professional communication and support of our joint initiatives. Today, we are going to present some of the important topics of interest to young fellows as well as seasoned authors. Hopefully, TILAR fellows will learn something and will start changing their writing, editing, and reviewing practices. And I expect a lot of great articles for Archives of Rheumatology, other rheumatology journals, including top rheumatology journals, such as Annals of Rheumatic Diseases, Arthritis and Rheumatology, Lancet Rheumatology, and other shining stars in rheumatology. So, guys, let me start sharing my screen.
Can I say a few words?
Yes, Elena, please.
Dear colleagues, friends, good morning, welcome everyone. It goes without saying that an incredible increase of journal impact factor of Archives of Rheumatology marks a big step in the development of these journals. And I think that it's mainly because of team work guided by İlker Yagci. It has been a great honor to work with İlker over the past 3 years, and he has demonstrated his outstanding editorial skills, a friendly approach to his subordinates, and wisdom. Thank you, İlker, and thank you, TILAR friends.
Thank you, Elena, for your kind words.
Thank you, Olena. So let me start sharing my screen, and so can you see my screen? Okay. So just a few seconds. Okay, good. Excellent. So let me start first presentation. You can hear me?
Armen, we cannot see your presentation. We can only see the
Your screen, yes. You should share with us your presentation.
You can't. You have to share your presentation.
So let me start sharing again. What about now?
Yes,
we can see. Now, if you start this from beginning, it will okay.
Yeah, but again, I think
from beginning.
Yes.
Just let me know if everything is okay. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Everything is okay.
Yes, fine.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good. Okay. So Olena will help me to share my words, discuss my presentation, and respond to your comments, questions. Professor Yekci will also help me to comment, to share his views on the same topics. So today I'd like, first of all, to thank all our participants who joined us today, or all those who are going to watch our presentations later on, to learn to get main points and improve their writing practices. So I'm going to start discussing citing ethical citations and referencing practices that may influence impact metrics. Olena Zimba mentioned about an incredible increase of a 2-year impact factor of archives of rheumatology, and it's mainly because of well-organized teamwork headed by Professor İlker Yekci and his vision, his highly professional stance on editing of an influential rheumatology journal. And I'm sure archives of rheumatology will reach will achieve more in the coming years, mainly because of ethical stance, editorial credentials of all editors involved in archives of rheumatology. So Archives of Rheumatology is one of the best rheumatology and rehabilitation journals. And I am sure that most contributors to these journals know about International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, Council of Science Editors, and World Association of Medical Editors. These are main editorial organizations that guide all medical journals, not just rheumatology journals. So our contributors should know about main points of these recommendations of editorial associations, particularly International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. So first of all, in terms of ethical citations, authors should know how to provide direct references to scientific facts and observations they discuss in their articles. Also, they should know which platforms are widely, globally used to retrieve relevant articles and cite these articles. So International Committee of Medical Journal Editors regularly updates their recommendations, particularly the last update was in 2019. And we should, as editors, authors, and reviewers, should adhere to their updated recommendations. So today we are going to discuss citations, and citations are also viewed in terms of mesh terms. We should all know about mesh terms coming from National Library of Medicine of US. And today we are going to discuss bibliography as topic. It's a structured mesh keyword. So it was introduced in 2008. To understand ethical citations, we should know why at all we need to cite bibliographic references. So in 1992, the essence of citations was to credit original authors, to refer to relevant methods or modified methodologies, and to help readers to find referenced articles in physical libraries or in online libraries. The situation has changed over the past decades, and now we have much more expanded view on citations. So citations help us to credit previous works, to select potential reviewers based on PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science profiles, to analyze semantically two different articles, and to judge articles in view of similarity and even plagiarism. So online search engines like Google Scholar or social media platforms, networking platforms like Researchgate. They also rely on citation tracking and careful selection of citations by authors. So citations are also used by bibliographic databases such as Scopus, Web of Science, and we need these citations to evaluate authors, journals, departments, and even rank countries based on their academic achievements. So for that, we need World University rankings, and all World University ranking currently rely on Scopus publications and citations, along with other metrics. So we also need citations to rank authors or experts based on their publications, influential publications, and to promote prolific and highly cited authors. Why? Because digitalized world is currently based on citations, on visibility of citations, importance and scientific prestige of citations. So having published articles not enough, you also need to promote, to attract citations primarily from Scopus database, because Scopus is used by most world university ranking systems. We know about Vancouver style of citing and referencing, Harvard style of citing and referencing. So Harvard is used by social scientists, Vancouver style is used by medics. We also need to know how to cite web resources to help readers to locate these web resources. Sometimes we need to distinguish web resources, to choose among them. Long-lasting web resources are preferable, so we should know which web resources with URL links are long-lasting. Let's say platforms such as BMJ, established platforms like Web of Science, these are established long-lasting platforms, and any URL link from internet links from these platforms is long-lasting, reliable, and we may choose for citations along with journal citations. So I presented here examples of lasting web resources we may choose to cite. We recently also published an article. I edited this article and noticed that some authors overly cite their local resources because there are no other options. In that case, they should be very careful. They should choose the most prestigious, widely used web resources, such as ministry or government resources, WHO resources. When we cite and reference, we should know how to cite. In one sentence, you may include several scientific facts. So be sure that you choose proper references. In one sentence, you may choose several references, but you should link even keywords, selected words to references. The best recommendations on proper citations, updated recommendations, come from Biomed Central. So please familiarize with their recommendations. The best recommendation is to cite original works instead of citing secondary or review sources. So try to cite original works. And try to use reference managers like Zotero and Mendeley. These are free resources, but you may also use EndNote, proprietary resource from Web of Science. Mendeley is considered as a social networking platform. but it also used as reference manager, free reference manager. Again, you may use it. When we use social media platforms, we also combine bibliometric searches, bibliometric approaches with altmetric approaches. So here is an example of one of the influential COVID-19 articles with altmetric attention score skyrocketing, AAS score. So we should pay attention not just to citations, but also to social media influencers, social media references, which are tracked by social media aggregators. You see that some of the influential resources in rheumatology are EULAR recommendations or rheumatology practice guidelines, which are highly cited, but at the beginning, these are also mentioned on social media. And these are equivalents or alternatives of citations. So pay attention also to altmetric references. When we use reference managers like Mendeley, we should know that these are well organized, well digitized, linked to Crossref platform and other well-established journals, internet sources. For today's participants, I have strong message. When you write your articles for top rheumatology journals, always consider local resources, local articles, and cite local rheumatology and PMR journals. Evidence comes from Brazilian sources that Brazilians also often ignore or neglect their local resources, which is also bias. So be very careful when you cite Scopus, which is linked to Scopus database linked to Scimago Journal and Country Rank. I analyzed resources and citation behavior and noticed that over the years, some countries overly rely on limited number of resources. So you should expand your coverage and you should try to cite as much as possible relevant articles. Style guides exist for editors, and I'm sure American Psychological Association style guide is useful for most medical journals, including rheumatology journals. Again, referring to International Committee of Medical Journal Editors guidance, we should ask our authors to provide direct references. References should not be used to promote self-interests, and we should try to cite original papers instead of conference abstracts or not unpublished articles, and references should be verified by authors, reviewers, and editors. We all know how big publishers, large publishers validate references in terms of visualizations, in terms of digital content. We may also rely on Council of Science editors' guidance, but most of above all, we should remember about DORA recommendations. We should diversify our approach. We should not rely on citations only. We may use also altmetric attention score and other approaches to diversify our approach to impact metrics. And we should never rely on a single metrics like impact factor. We should also analyze Scopus-based metrics, and sometimes also editors should validate references by paying attention whether some references are more important than others. When editors edit articles, it's better to provide link how to cite articles after abstracts. This way, you may help your readers to choose your articles and properly cite without any technical mistakes. There is no need to overly cite one's own works from the same journals. So message to authors, always diversify references. When you format your references, always try to cite different rheumatology, PMR, general medical journals, or sometimes allied health journals. There is a tendency to global trend to increase access to citations and references. So please be sure that all your references are widely visible. Of course, Archives of Rheumatology open access journal and all references are openly available. However, it's not enough. You should also try to increase coverage of your journal by physical libraries, online digital libraries, registries like Directory of Open Access Journals, and other search engines like Open Ukrainian Citation Index. I'll talk about that index later. Citation alerts exist to increase awareness of authors about citations coming from other authors. So large publishers use that tactics to increase visibility of your articles. The same with Springer Nature, Elsevier, and some other publishers. Today, I'd like to draw your attention to recommended and not recommended citations. The essence is to cite well-digitized, widely visible citations. Citations with digital object identifiers, and avoid citing retracted articles, poorly visible articles. Any comments at this point, Olena?
Arman, thank you very much for your elegant and very informative presentation. I have one question to you. You mentioned about different reference managers, Zotero, Mendeley, EndNote. And my question is, which one do you like most? Yes, and use in your practice. Because we should remember about time management, especially in case of busy clinicians, and they should use reference managers. Which one is the best, in your opinion?
Okay, so there are some reference managers. Free options are preferable for most authors, like Mendeley, Zotero, and I am well aware that most authors in developing countries, or most authors without funding, without access to EndNote, use Zotero, which is free. So, of course, in Western world, in Americas, researchers use EndNote from Web of Science to organize their reference lists. But in developing world, in Eastern world, in India and other countries, researchers use Zotero to organize their reference lists. Those using Mendeley as social media platform also use it for having individual libraries and also to organize their reference lists. So why we need reference managers? We need primarily for PhD dissertations, systematic reviews, to process thousands of references, and sometimes also for narrative reviews to process hundreds of references. Other questions?
Thank you, Arman. You also mentioned about appropriate citation behavior, and you mentioned that we should omit to cite retracted items. But the question is that researchers continue often to cite retracted items. How to deal with this situation?
Yeah, so it's pain for editors to see that authors cite withdrawn or retracted articles, particularly in the era of COVID-19 pandemic. So our authors should be reminded that all references should be double checked before submission to journals, and they should replace retracted or withdrawn articles before submission. And if they wish to cite retracted articles, plagiarized or fraudulent research, they shouldn't include these citations to inter-reference lists. They should cite in text, provide URL links to these retracted items.
Thank you, Arman. And one more question about how editors should ethically promote their published contents to increase impact metrics.
Okay, good question, particularly for archives of rheumatology. I strongly encourage our associate editors, all those who support archives of rheumatology, all contributors, authors, reviewers, to ethically promote articles in archives of rheumatology and cite these articles, particularly in articles submitted to top rheumatology journals, to increase Imago journal rank, to increase quartiles of archives of rheumatology. It's ethical, it's possible. And we know also about social media platform. Now we have a social media platform, Twitter platform run by Olena Zimba. And again, I should express my gratitude to TILAR administration and to İlker Yagci for understanding the importance of these ethical channel of promotion of archives of rheumatology articles. Editors may ethically promote this way to increase citations, to attract altmetric attention, alternative attention, and to increase visibility of archive rheumatology articles. I understand that most Eastern Mediterranean or Turkish scientists use Instagram and other social media platforms for promotion of their works or local works, but they need Twitter for networking with the rest of the world, for competing with other top rheumatology and PMR journals, because most rheumatology and PMR journals have Twitter account, and using this channel, they increase dissemination of their articles and increase the impact factors, 2-year impact factor, which is still quite important single metric, but it is just single metric. We should think about other impact metrics, social media metrics as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Arman.
Other comments? İlker?
Important issue, and we have to everything in our in these years are about social media and promoting our what we are doing, and this is very important area of making promotion of our journal and our articles. This means that our articles are more visible in every platform and increasing our metrics, but we have to do it very in ethical way. This is very important issue. So Olena is helping us to handle this difficult situation. Thank you, Olena, for this good work.
I will try my best to ethically promote archives of rheumatology articles, Professor İlker. I will do my best.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, İlker, Olena. But we all need support of our authors, who should also join our promotion initiative and discuss articles on social media, highlight strong points, and retweet, share tweets. So try to encourage all our authors to retweet, not just like, but also retweet and share tweets with their colleagues locally and globally. Thank you very much.
Arman, your next lecture is about open access, and regarding to social media promotion, it's important that Archives of Rheumatology is open access journal, and we can share full link, yes, with our followers, full link to free article, yes.
So they also, Archives of Rheumatology authors know that articles are available on PubMed Central, PubMed platform, and they can use plugins, social media plugins, to share with their colleagues published contents. So let me continue our discussion and move on to open access platforms. We need to know that the best open access platform are those who allow to unite scholars. And we should also know that open access saves lives, particularly in the era of COVID-19 pandemic. Almost all COVID-19 research and reviews are currently archived by PubMed Central and widely visible to help other authors and to help clinicians to properly manage their patients. So you see an example of widely promoted article on COVID-19 with skyrocketing altmetric attention score from altmetric.com with more than 15,000 tweeters, numerous Mendeley users who bookmarked this article from Lancet, and which is archived by PubMed Central. In view of open access, we should know about several important platforms. ORCID is part of open access. PubMed Central is part of open access. Directory of open access journals, also part of open access initiative. Institutional repositories, preprint archives. Again, analyzing and discussing open access, we should refer to mesh structured term, which is based on Bethesda Declaration on Bethesda Statement on Open Access Publishing, and it was introduced as mesh term in 2016. Open access publishing, the two pillars of open access are self-archiving, sharing by authors. So authors should retain copyrights on their articles, and they should be supported by editors who should use PubMed Central and other digital repositories to permanently save their articles. So authors retaining copyrights and proper archiving by digital repositories are pillars of open access publishing. When we use Scopus database, I analyzed Scopus open access publishing as a keyword and noticed several important links to other keywords such as social media. So social media is also part of open access initiative. So today's participants who use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms also contribute to open access initiative. Voice viewer, this important trick is used to visualize, to use cloud-based technique to visualize links between keywords and to understand interconnection between several articles. I hope that you also use Scopus. I presented here example how we analyze data on Scopus. Open access publishing is a popular trend in United States, developed world, United Kingdom, Germany, and other countries. There are some influential authors who actively publish on open access. Also, articles increasing year by year on open access publishing, and open access concerns not just to medicine, but many other fields of science. Some journals overly publish on open access like Nature, PLOS ONE, Science, and other journals. Journals like Journal of Korean Medical Science, I support and encourage you to submit your best works to this Korean journal, because this journal is a member of International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, along with Lancet, BMJ, and other journals. So the most influential article on open access is published by BMC Medicine in 2015. And you see that this article is top cited. When I use social media approach and analyze using altmetric.com platform, I see that Mendeley users, Twitter users overly comment on this article. Now, about another important point. All medical journals are widely visible because of Medline indexing, because of PubMed indexing. There are currently more than 5,000 Medline indexed journals and also more than 3,000 PubMed Central indexed journals. So we see that some journals also index from your country, and including those related to rheumatology, orthopedics, sports and rehabilitation medicine. We should know about these journals. We know about PubMed Central Archive journals, and again, some of these influential journals are journals with huge influence because of excellent editorial and publishing work, including work on archives of rheumatology. But there are also other related journals also coming from your country, like Turkish Archives of Pediatrics, Joint Diseases and Related Surgery. We should know how these journals develop, how they improve their visual global outreach. In the era of COVID-19, we all know about Lead COVID platform, which is based on PubMed platform. And it is widely publicized, widely supported because of good work, because of digitization and ease of use of this platform, Lead COVID. Lead COVID helps us to visualize, to retrieve articles related of our professional interest. Some of these articles relate to telemedicine, rehabilitation, PMR, so it's easy to use when you know exact structured keyword like rehabilitation. So I again used my combined approach and analyzed one of the PMR article using altmetric.com approach. We should pay attention at the start of promotion of this article, where and who promote, who discuss these articles. Twitter users usually pick these articles and comment. So hopefully you will do the same. There is also concern that not all digitized journals are preserved. So Archives of Rheumatology is well preserved because of PubMed Central archiving, but not all open access journals are preserved. So pay attention whether open access journals are preserved by PubMed Central or not. An example of good startup journal, which is widely promoted and its visibility is based on search engine. It is not indexed at the moment, but it is widely promoted because of Crossref coverage and because of Open Ukrainian Citation Index, which is one of the best search engines linked to social media, Plum Analytics. So try to pay attention to this search engine. How journals preserve their contents? There are many ways. Like, Annals of Rheumatic Diseases is preserved Though it's not archived by PubMed Central, it is still preserved for future generations because of Stanford University repository named Logs, because of Portico. And there is also registry of open access journals like Sherpa Romeo. It's also used by open access journals. Archives of Rheumatology, well promoted, and it's covered by Norwegian Register of Scientific Journals, Series, and Publishers. So another important register for all types of journals. And the most important registry for open access journals, of course, Directory of Open Access Journals. So there are more than 400 index journals from Turkey. These journals are widely visible, and authors are encouraged to use this platform for systematic and comprehensive searches for their narrative and systematic reviews. Journal editors should try to index their open access journals and should try to achieve adherence to best standards of open access publishing coming from global editorial associations. So editors of Archives of Rheumatology should also regularly revise their strategies and should adhere to 16 points on the principles of transparency and best practice in scholarly publishing. So we all know about XML conversion, PubMed Central conversion, but we also know that XML conversion is also used for Directory of Open Access Journals. It's automatic for journals using Open Journal System, but other options, automatic options, are also available. So the best open access journals having PubMed Central archiving, policy for digitization, punctuality are also marked with DOAJ seal. No, please be aware about this seal. Editors, authors, and the reviewers should know about Sarajevo Declaration on integrity and visibility of scholarly publications. I encourage all today's participants to adhere to main principles of this declaration: transparency of editorial works, support of professional editorial teams, so editors should be also trained in the field of editing, and focus on or concentration on regional and local issues. So all our authors should pay attention to regional and local authors. And of course, ethical promotion via established social media and other online channels. ORCID is currently used by millions of scholars, and it's also part of open access. It's also part of increasing visibility of your articles. Publons for reviewers, another important platform for increasing visibility and gaining global reputation. So all our reviewers should use this platform to increase visibility of their own profiles and visibility of their journals, like Archives of Rheumatology. Here I presented top scientists. There are more than roughly 57,000 researchers from Turkey, and these researchers are known because of their prolific reviewing work. In the field of rheumatology and PMR, we also have scientists. We know that Archives of Rheumatology is supported by numerous reviewers, and the best reviewers, of course, send information about their activities to Publons. Researchgate is a social media platform, social networking platform used for archiving PDFs of your articles. So again, you are allowed to share your articles from Archives of Rheumatology on Researchgate. How we ethically promote, Olena Zimba knows about ethical promotion on social media, but once again, I draw attention of our participants to ethically promote without conflict of interest, without any self-promotion, promote articles of global interest, not just local interest, and adhere to editorial guidance of global editorial associations. Ethical standards come from Committee on Publication Ethics, and we know about 10 core practices of Committee on Publication Ethics. Social media promotion is also based on these principles. And again, referring to DORA declaration, whenever possible, we should use social media metrics to refer to article level metrics, not just to journal level metrics. Why? Because within the same journal, not all articles are equal. Within the same issue, some articles are more influential than others, mainly because of ethical promotion, because of importance of topics, and because of quality of writing. Social media. Again, you see, I refer to social media as structured mesh keyword established in 2012, and social media is something that easy to deal with, that authors, reviewers, and editors may use to share, disseminate articles easily, message to our participants. Always refer to official journal accounts like Archives of Rheumatology account. Consider top journal accounts for improving promotion of your journal and articles. Try to expand your network of followers, Twitter followers. Follow relevant societies and users like EULAR, ACR, and other, and avoid conflicts of interest. Try to disseminate only contents within the limits of acceptable limits of sharing. Examples of good rheumatology accounts on Twitter, PMR account, and of course, Archives of Rheumatology account, which was established just a year ago in December, several months ago in December 2020, and number of followers is impressive, around 400 followers. So it's an impressive achievement for this relatively new account. How authors may help to promote? They know about Archives of Rheumatology and PubMed Central. They may use plugins, social media plugins, and may share information about PubMed Central archived articles. Twitter immediacy effect is important to know. When an article is published, there are no citations, but tweets, retweets may increase visibility of articles, not just likes, but retweets. So our authors should use Twitter to ethically promote Archives of Rheumatology articles and disseminate information about the most influential articles, those not sponsored by pharmaceutical industry, without pharma connection. Guidance on social media comes from best and large publishers, and Olena Zimba and I know about these guidelines, and we should share with our participants today, and we should ask them to go to these platforms to learn more from best guidance, how to share, how to ethically promote on social media, and increase citations as well. Almost all large publishers have their recommendations on social media promotion. One of the most important points about promotion on social media. Some journals like Academic Medicine, it's an influential journal in general medicine and medical education, they ask their authors to share their Twitter handles along with ORCID IDs. So the same approach we used in Central Asian Journal of Medical Hypothesis and Ethics that I consult and support as a startup journal in Central Asia, Kazakhstan. And you see that we use that approach to increase visibility, to increase dissemination and post-publication communication by asking authors to join Twitter and provide their Twitter addresses, Twitter handles for post-publication promotion. Best rheumatology journals track articles based on citations, but also based on altmetric attention score. So we should also use that approach. It's in line with DORA Declaration of San Francisco on Research Assessment. Our authors should know how to promote, how to analyze published articles in view of social media metrics. They should use Bookmarklet for researchers, free option to download on their computers and analyze individual articles. It's easy. As editor, as I always contact altmetric.com and ask them to track new platforms, new online platforms of potential interest to global audience. So editors may do the same. Our authors and editors should know that not all social media platforms are covered by altmetric.com and Plum Analytics. Let's say Instagram is still not covered by altmetric.com, so there is no influence on altmetric attention score, AAS, or altmetric donut. But Twitter, news channels, magazines, popular magazines may influence and may help increase visibility and promotion of scholarly articles. Of course, there are a number of a myriad of social media platforms, but we should focus on the most influential: Twitter, Facebook, Wikipedia. We should also encourage our research managers, university administration to use news channels to promote scholarly articles. This way, we may achieve much more in terms of promotion and social media metrics. So the best algorithm used by altmetric.com for social media promotion consider several important channels for promotion, and you see that news channels, blogs, Twitter are among the most popular, influential in view of altmetric algorithm. So we should know about these scores to use, let's say, Twitter to achieve much more in view of social media metrics. Comments, discussion is open
thank
now.
Thank you, Armen, for the excellent presentation.
Definitely.
Now we cannot even imagine our scholarly world without open access, and definitely open access to information is a human right. It's not a privilege. And one question to you, you mentioned about different open access platforms. And my question is, which open access platforms are most recommended to PMR and rheumatology followers? Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you, Olena. I think we shall discuss this point in a minute. Yeah, but for now, I'd like to encourage our PMR and rheumatology fellows to use PubMed, DOAJ platforms as free online platforms for systematic and comprehensive searches. Scopus and Web of Science are proprietary platforms, not open. Researchers may use Scopus and Web of Science as more if they have access via their universities, via their ministries. But without Scopus and Web of Science, they may rely on PubMed and DOAJ platforms. There are also some indexing services which are recommended to PMR and rheumatology fellows. We'll discuss these indexing services, but these are different from online platforms. And they should also remember about Open Ukrainian Citation Index, that new search engine linked to Crossref, promoted by Nature journal. And although it's Ukrainian, it is of global importance and one of the exemplary search engine relying on citations and PlumX social media metrics. So we nowadays use citations and social media metrics for analyzing and promoting our articles.
Thank you, Arman. Regarding your opinion about Ukrainian Open Citation Index.
It's unbiased. I think simply promote that search engine and encourage journal editors to provide links to that search engine to help readers analyze journal articles, the same journal articles, let's say archives of rheumatology articles. Okay.
Yes, it means that we should use different platforms for searching relevant information. Yes,
Yep.
And don't forget about Elite COVID platform if your research is related to COVID-19.
Yep.
Yes.
Any other questions from our audience?
It seems that we don't have any other questions.
Olena, I see 3 questions coming from our hub, Zoom hub. Okay, if there are no questions or there are no questions at this point, we may postpone question and answer Q&A discussion and may also switch to our next presentation.
Yes, we can have a few minute break. Professor Ilker, what is your opinion?
I think 10 minutes break will be great for the participants because it has been 1 hour past till the from the beginning, and after at 11:30 we will be here and start the presentations again.
Okay.
If it's okay to you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So there's a
online,
yeah, we are staying online. We don't go anywhere, and it is still streaming. We have just 10 minutes break. So
okay.
See you.
Okay, see you.
It's time to move on our second part of our workshop. And Arman, our next presentation is about how to write articles.
Yes, Arman, this is the most attractive part of your presentation. Everyone in the participants are wondering that how we can increase acceptance of our manuscripts. So you will give them some clues to have more acceptance rate. We are listening to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ilker. Of course, I'll try my best to share some of the tips on writing scholarly articles and tips on targeting top rheumatology and PMR journals. So the basics of writing rely on editorial guidance coming from global editorial associations, and editors who are going to contribute to top indexed rheumatology and PMR journals, they should know all updates of these recommendations. Some of authors who are going to contribute as reviewers and editors, they should know about equator network standards because almost 100% of medical journals are currently recommending their authors to adhere to equator network research reporting guidelines standards. And non-Anglophone fellows need to know about European Medical Writers Association because this association, I personally learned a lot from their guidance, their journal, and how they deal with English, either American or British English. Scholars should know the difference between standards, English standards. So to target good or top rheumatology and PMR journals, authors should polish or should improve, advance their English to submit articles with readable, easily understandable English, understandable to native speakers, and also to adhere to the best available guidance, particularly research reporting standards from Equator Network. So English and standards are essential for writing good articles and targeting top journals. There are two global recommendations coming from International Committee of Medical Journal Editors and Council of Science Editors recommendations. Of course, our authors know about recommendations for conduct, reporting, and editing from International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Editors should know both recommendations, and they should know that International Committee of Medical Journal Editors is an elite group of editors of top medical journals, and the best standards advice come from these 12 journals and 2 organizations like National Library of Medicine and World Association of Medical Editors. So if editors wish to improve, increase quality of their journals and increase visibility, international recognition of their journals, they should know about these 2 recommendations in detail. International Committee of Medical Journal Editors advise authors, reviewers, and editors how to deal with authorship. It's one of the basic points, ethical point for avoiding problems post-publication. So 4 authorship criteria are important And all our contributors today should know how to disclose their author's contribution in multi-author articles. They should know about predatory journals, open access journals without any credentials, without any quality standards or peer review, and journals that claim to be European, world, global, international. So avoid submitting any articles to these poor standard predatory journals. It's better to submit your articles to local small journals with small impact indicators than to predatory journals that mislead authors by having too overly ambitious titles: world, American, European, global, international, etc. Guidance also highlights importance of statistics. I am sure that most of our today's participants are skilled in biostatistics, but they should also know that overly relying or solely relying on p-values is incorrect. So when you publish survey studies, when you publish cross-sectional works, case control studies, try to use more sophisticated statistics or avoid statistics at all, because p-values means statistical significance, but not always clinical significance. There is a huge difference between statistical and clinical significance. And also recommendations are telling us how to cite, how to reference our reference list for journal articles. We should know about updated form coming from International Committee of Medical Journal Editors and should disclose all connections to pharmaceutical industry. I am well aware of clinicians' links to numerous pharmaceutical agencies. Sometimes there is a huge conflict, direct conflict, and these type of articles are not welcomed by indexed or top rheumatology journals. So try to avoid conflicts coming from links to pharmaceutical industry. Almost all rheumatology journals rely on guidance from International Committee of Medical Journal Editors and officially declare adherence to their recommendations. Now, about writing articles. Of course, our authors should know about recommendations coming from global editorial associations, but they should know about traditional approach. Narrative reviews always attract a lot of citations, and currently they also attract a lot of social media attention. Most large publishers encourage drafting review articles. These are highly cited, well perceived, well read by clinicians. Let's say Lancet seminar series articles, well read, well processed, and influence science as well. There are different types of review articles. Society recommendations sometimes also considered as review articles. Nobel Prize winners may write authoritative reviews, analyzing their previous works and submitting as a review, but common or ordinary authors most often deal or write narrative reviews, again with comprehensive and systematic approaches, systematic search strategies. And those who wish to focus on a certain point, certain clinical topic, they may draft qualitative systematic reviews without meta-analysis. Those with meta-analysis considered as quantitative systematic reviews, and there are some concerns about systematic reviews with meta-analysis, particularly coming from China, because Chinese authors often rely on artificial intelligence and Most of their systematic reviews deal with non-essential, non-clinical points, laboratory points, and overly use meta-analytic approach without any clinical significance. So be very careful when you process, when you read meta-analysis, particularly from China, because there are many fraudulent, many systematic reviews with meta-analysis generated by computer programs, by Chinese authors referring to computer programs without any clinical meaning. Now, some of our authors may generate hypotheses, and these type of articles are also welcome by good journals that encourage disputes, discussions. So hypotheses are welcome by some specialist journals like Medical Hypothesis, like Central Asian Journal of Medical Hypothesis and Ethics. But some rheumatology journals also publish these type of articles. These type of articles can be also structured as review articles, narrative reviews, but with some differences. Hypotheses should contain introduction, clear formulation of clear drafting of scientific hypothesis, implications, clinical implications of hypothesis, and also ethical implications of hypothesis. There is difference between hypothesis, narrative reviews, and systematic reviews, but skilled authors often draft all types of articles based on comprehensive searches through various databases and search engines. Researchers and authors should know how to work with single journals like Medical Hypothesis in relation to rheumatology, and they should know how many hypotheses exist. In the era of COVID-19, there have been many scientific hypotheses on treatment of COVID-19 prevention. Some or even most of these hypotheses were erroneous, were misleading, particularly those dealing with hydroxychloroquine. So we should carefully process evidence justifying scientific hypotheses. Scientific hypotheses presented as narrative reviews or short reviews, mini reviews. For most systematic reviews, other types of articles, we should rely on equator network standards, particularly PRISMA standard. The essence of PRISMA approach is to cover all bibliographic databases and to retrieve relevant articles, leave at the end 20, 30 highly relevant articles, analyze these articles, and produce systematic review. Of course, even for systematic reviews, it is necessary to have structured search strategy, and basics of this search strategy were published by Rheumatology International in 2011, and I strongly recommend to all our participants to rely on this guidance for writing narrative reviews and systematic reviews as well. Systematic reviews can be, protocols of systematic reviews should be registered with Prospero registry, prospective registration of systematic reviews. And these protocols are important for avoiding redundancies of systematic reviews based on the same search strategies. So if you publicize protocol of your systematic reviews, then start your work, you may avoid redundancies. However, if you submit your systematic review without prior registration of your protocol, you may face double or redundant publication overlapping with other authors' systematic reviews. Those who write recommendations, I know that TILAR authors often publish TILAR recommendations. They need to know about right standard coming from Equator Network. And each recommendation after publication should be promoted on social media, should be evaluated in view of clinical significance, clinical applications, or clinical implications of recommendations. So my message to TILAR fellows publishing TILAR guidelines to promote and understand clinical implications of their recommendations. When we write different types of articles, we should know about how to structure titles. Sometimes it is necessary to put questions. Questions increase attractiveness, and we know that there are different types of articles. Let's say articles for Lancet series, like osteoarthritis, written by eminent osteoarthritis experts, can be published without any question mark, without any sophisticated titles, just osteoarthritis, comprehensively covering this subject, this clinical topic. And you see that this article published by Lancet is influential in view of citations coming from Dimensions, Scopus, in view of Mendeley readers, around 2,600 users bookmarked this article, but also in view of Twitter users who tweeted on this article. And we know that top rheumatology journal articles are immediately picked by social media users, commented and disseminated via several networks. We know about different journals, different approaches, and even systematic review articles may contain titles with question marks. However, these type of articles, article titles, require answers to these questions in conclusion of these systematic reviews. Titles divided into several types: declarative, descriptive, interrogative. So declarative articles cover everything. These are most reflective articles containing several keywords discussed in the article. Descriptive or neutral, like osteoarthritis, contain only few structured keywords in the title. And interrogative article titles attract a lot of attention because it's a trick used by skilled authors. But overall, we should know that title of articles should indicate subject, let's say relevance to rheumatology or PMR, should be concise, short, informative. Almost all relevant and influential keywords should be included in titles, and attractive, somehow attractive. Osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, physical activity are buzzword, attractive word, and there is no need to use other tricks. However, some new keywords may require question marks and other points to attract attention. We know that question marks increase attention, and attention is measured by downloads. So, dear editors, pay attention how often your published articles are downloaded by your readers, whether they pay attention to your articles or simply ignore most articles. So these are important metrics: downloads along with citations and social media metrics. Poor predictors of citations: when you refer to your country, to your city in the title, you may mention in the methodology, but never in the title. We rarely use that approach when we deal with clinical epidemiology articles, but most of the time we often avoid any reference to geographic terms in the title. When we structure review, we should divide into several subsections. We should know about mesh keywords and should carefully structure our article, and each part of our article should be visible, should contain structured keywords clearly explained in each part. In introduction, we justify novelty. Novelty is important for all types of articles, and dividing review articles by subheadings is also important and easy, allows you to easily structure your article. Sometimes it is necessary to deal with mesh keywords and how we pick these keywords. We simply go to PubMed platform, open mesh terms link window, and retrieve these keywords. For all authors who write different types of articles, Scopus and Web of Science should be often used. Most of the time should be used for processing literature, but some specialist databases should be also approached, like Global Health for public health experts, Citing for authors covering neurology, psychology, psychiatry issues. PMR specialists should know about Sport Discus, about Pedro database, and some other specialist databases. These databases are important for those who are going to write narrative and systematic reviews. DOAJ is important search engine and platform for retrieving openly available articles, free articles. You see that the number of journals covered by this registry is quite impressive, more than 16,000 journals. And this registry helps to increase visibility of local journals. But there are also other additional channels for drafting your narrative, systematic reviews, and even for our original papers. Now, about Open Ukrainian Citation Index, which was promoted by Nature and discussed in Nature 2 years ago. This platform is based on Crossref and social media. So we may use this platform to track articles by archives of rheumatology and visualize how many articles are well cited. We may pay attention to social media or so-called plum print coming from Plum Analytics. When we structure our review articles, we should remember about recommended and not recommended citations. We should not cite retracted, poorly visible, or Congress abstracts. Unacceptable, we should remember about unacceptable references with low level of evidence. When we draft editorials, editorials are also important for journal quality and for advancing in view of promotion and citations. Novice authors often write case studies, clinical case reports considered as low level of evidence, but these are also important articles that may change recommendations of societies, may change drug marketing approaches. Case reports and case-based reviews should be based on CARE standard coming from Equator Network. Case-based reviews combine approaches. So these approaches are based on PRISMA and CARE guidance from Equator Network. Original research papers are based on IMRAD structure. This structure includes introduction. We should discuss about novelty, should avoid lengthy historic analysis. In methodology, we should pay attention where, when, and by whom this study was conducted. We should discuss inclusion and exclusion criteria, and if it is laboratory study, deadlines of our laboratory study are important. In view of statistical importance, we should clearly present how we checked normality of distribution, how we corrected for confounding factors in cohort studies, or in cross-sectional studies. And sometimes it is also necessary to calculate sample size. prior to launching study. We should never solely rely on p-values. We should combine absolute numbers with percentages. In discussion, we should pay attention to limitations of our studies, not just retrospective design, but should also discuss other limitations like lack of methodological, innovative methodological approach, and etc., etc. In the footnotes, we should have ORCID IDs. We should clearly disclose competing interests. In narrative reviews, we should disclaim that no part of review article is based on copied or published texts or graphics. So narrative reviews should be free of any reused content. So this is the last slide for this presentation, and I'm open to questions and comment, particularly from Olena Zimba.
Thank you, Arman,
for this webinar. And
Olena, can I ask I want to ask a question firstly. After that, you will start to ask questions to Arman Gasparyan, because a participant, Burhan Fatih Koçyiğit, asked me a question about case-based reviews. And in my first slides, I said that we do not accept case reports anymore to archives of rheumatology. This is about the mathematics of the journal. We can publish approximately 90 papers per year, but there is high amount of case reports coming to system, and we cannot accept all of them. And for the archives of rheumatology, I also wondering what is the position about of the Rheumatology International. There are huge numbers of accepted research waiting to be published. This is a very important issue of the archives of rheumatology, and we start to not accept case reports. Burhan Fatih Koçyiğit asking that you do not accept case reports. At this point, is it right to turn to case-based reviews? He is asking to me. And I know that you are, as I wrong, you please correct me. For Rheumatology International, you are accepting case-based reviews. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but in archives of rheumatology, I should firstly publish research articles that we already accepted. That's why we are not accepting case-based reviews also. So for the narrative reviews, we do not accept them also unless we request from an international author. So you can send to archives of rheumatology systematic reviews, meta-analysis, research, and also letter to the editor. In letter to editor format, there are cases can be published. But please remember that your case should be very original and leads to an research. So this is my comments about it. So I also wonder what is the position of you in Rheumatology International?
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ayevci. Several years ago, many rheumatology and PMR journals stopped publishing case reports. But at the same time, they launched new journals publishing exclusively case reports, like Oxford Case Reports Journal, like Modern Rheumatology Case Reports, like BMJ Case Reports. Of course, top rheumatology journals need a lot of citations, need to promote their high evidence-based articles like clinical trials, systematic reviews, large cohort studies, and they are not interested in small pieces, articles with inconclusive results, case reports without any meaning, without any educational point. So if your case report is of high educational value, important for rheumatologists, you may submit to even to Lancet or Lancet Rheumatology. They may accept these type of articles. However, most other rheumatology journals, including Rheumatology International, Clinical Rheumatology, these journals do not accept case reports, with exception of COVID-19 cases of global importance. If your case report is of huge global importance, it can be processed and accepted as a letter to the editor or as a case-based review if you if you analyze your case and analyze all similar case reports. Of course, we know that even case-based reviews are not well cited. However, journals need a diversity of article types: editorials, invited reviews, original research papers, survey-based studies, bibliometric studies, letters, information articles, even scientific cartoons, to attract a lot of attention of readers, to make these reads interesting. So case reports are important for clinicians. Case reports are important for Turkish scientists, Behçetologists, or scientists. We know that Behçet's disease is covered in thousands of case reports published across rheumatology and other journals. So rheumatologists writing case reports on Behçet's disease, other diseases, should choose their target journals. Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, they still accept case reports of global importance. In Archives of Rheumatology, it's a policy of TILAR and Professor İlker Yakci. We accept that policy, that no case report can be published even on COVID-19. And of course, it's their policy. We should adhere and we should endorse that policy. So why not? Authors, clinicians may draft case reports and submit to many other journals like BMJ case reports, Oxford medical case reports. There are a variety of options, good targets. So authors should be guided where to submit their articles.
Thank you. So, Olena, do you have some questions to Arman, I think?
Yes, thank you, Arman. You generously shared with us your rich editors and authors' experience. It's obviously that every author should choose the target journal at the start of manuscript writing. This is probably the most important part, yes? And in our choice, we should rely whether this journal is indexed by reputable bibliographic databases. But unfortunately, some predatory journals have made their way into reputable bibliographic databases like Scopus, Web of Science, Medline. Would you recommend some?
PubMed Central as well.
Yes. Would you recommend some additional characteristic how to recognize these predatory journals for authors? What should we take into consideration in this important question? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Olena. For PMR and rheumatology fellows, it's not just authors, but also skilled experts, professors. It's a painful point. So we know about Omics Group and other predatory publishers that attracted a lot of good rheumatologists, skilled rheumatologists, and trapped these rheumatologists in their editorial boards. So editors, experts should know about poor quality journals and should not respond to their invitations to join editorial boards. That's the most important point for skilled experts. And they should pay attention not just to indexing status, but also to editorial practices, adherence to COP, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors Standards, and other global editorial standards. So authors should avoid submitting their papers. Reviewers should not submit any reviewer comment to these journals, because all these reviewer comments may appear on Publon's platform later on. And Publon's platform, part of Web of Science, is the most reputable crediting system for reviewers. So authors, reviewers, and editors should know how to recognize, how to distinguish predatory journals from reliable indexed rheumatology and PMR journals. Journals indexed by PubMed, journal archived by PubMed Central, indexed by Scopus, indexed by Web of Science databases are reliable, ethical journals. Some startup journals without indexing status may be also considered as ethical. You know that it takes 2-3 years to get indexed by Scopus and Web of Science. And it doesn't mean that journal without indexing is predatory. Predatory journals are those that charge authors a lot, several thousands of dollars, without quality controls, without helping their authors to increase visibility and reputation of their articles. So some startup journals, journals indexed by reputable databases like Medline, Scopus, Web of Science, are considered as ethical. And of course, we should recall Jeffrey Bill's criteria of predatory journals. I know that his criteria are not well accepted by some open access publishers, but still we learned a lot from Jeffrey Bill's approach, and we know that we should rely on Committee on Publication Ethics guidance, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors guidance, and we should also consider whether open access journals provide quality services for their author publication charges. I know that Archives of Rheumatology is platinum open access journal sponsored by TILAR, and there is no author publication charges. So it's one of the ethical journal providing quality services, providing a quality peer review, and this work is visual, transparent on Publon's platform. We know that numerous ethical reviewers contribute to Archives of Rheumatology. So ethical journals are those with good Publon's profile. So if you see good journal with good Publon's platform profile, with reputable reviewers reviewing for that journal, so there is no any concern in view of predatory publishing.
Arman, does it mean that absence of article publication charge suggests that this is not a predatory journal, because predatory journals always offer a high article processing charge for their authors?
Yeah, unrealistic. Unrealistic publication fees. No, not. There are some journals without publication fees, but with poor editorial standards. So we should distinguish good journals from bad journals, not necessarily predatory. Some startup journals may be considered as journals with poor editorial standards, poor quality checks. So there is no need to publish in these type of journals. There is no prospects of indexing of these journals. So there is difference between predatory, non-predatory, and good and bad journals.
Thank you. Let's move on the final item of our agenda.
Okay.
Also, one of the most important, yes, how to search through the Scopus database for drafting narrative and systematic reviews.
Okay, why we need Scopus? I explained at the beginning that all university ranking systems process information from Scopus, not from Web of Science, from Scopus. And non-Anglophone authors, non-Anglophone editors often work for Scopus index journals, not Web of Science. Web of Science is a service of US-based service. Scopus is European service and more open to non-Anglophone journals, whereas Web of Science is slightly more biased towards English journals. In Scopus, we see numerous non-Anglophone journals, journals with bilingual publishing model, let's say Ukrainian English, or Turkish English, and Scopus is relatively more friendly to non-Anglophone journals. This is why I strongly encourage to use Scopus by our Eastern Mediterranean, Turkish, Greek, Bulgarian, Ukrainians, Eastern European scientists who may find a lot of articles from their own countries. So Scopus has numerous advantages compared to other bibliographic databases. I am not going to name these bibliographic databases, but I strongly encourage to use Scopus by our research managers, PhD candidates, by our research fellows working on their original research papers. Particularly those who are going to write for top rheumatology journals. There are only 2-3 big rheumatology journals like Annals, A&R, SAR, Nature Reviews Rheumatology. I hope that our participants will also target not just local journals, but also top rheumatology journals. And when they target top rheumatology journals, they should consider for citations relevant articles from their local journals, like Archives of Rheumatology, like other journals. And they may also target New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet. Rheumatologists often target, years ago or decades ago, Turkish scientists were considered New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, as one of the best journals, best choice for their rheumatology journals, rheumatology cases. Hopefully they will consider, if they publish if they have research, unique research on Behçet's disease, something unique and of global importance, they may submit to these globally important journals. We should always remember about these associations and organizations concerned with scholarly writing. I know that there are some local or regional editorial associations, like Olena Zimba is Secretary General of Ukrainian Council of Science Editors. Not familiar with other local Turkish editorial associations, but I am sure they also play an important role for increasing popularity of local journals or local international. When you write articles, you should diversify your reference lists. And one of the important messages of today's webinar, always have updated, diversified, not focused on single or a limited number of journals, and properly formatted art reference lists. For technical formatting is important, and it saves a lot of time, editors' time. So yeah, when you submit to Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, pay attention what type of articles is published there and how they approach their search strategies. They are allowed to publish seminar reviews based on PubMed searches only. However, for most other general medical and rheumatology journals, a diversity of bibliographic databases and platforms is recommended for search strategies. So pay also attention to so-called elitist approach in references of Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, Annals, ANDAR, and other top rheumatology journals. Most references are to top general medical or specialist journals. However, my message to our participants, always consider relevant articles from Archives of Rheumatology, other journals which you often read and which you often use for changing or upgrading your own clinical practice. Avoid elitist approach. No need to cite only Lancet, only New England Journal of Medicine, only Annals. Always diversify your references. And diversity of references, again, should be based on searches through Scopus database, which is the largest database. So the same approach is used in our own articles. We also consider the best articles from the best journals. Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine are journals of evidence-based medicine. They publish clinical trials, systematic reviews. Yes, we may rely on these top journals, but when it comes to promoting our local or friendly journals, we should carefully choose highly relevant articles. And we should include citations to these journals in top rheumatology of top general medical journals. We should always remember about recommendations coming from International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Imagine several research group publish write review articles. They are based on the same databases, but their search strategies may be different. Some reviewers using DOAJ, using Open Ukrainian Citation Index and other innovative search strategies may draft review articles with slightly different or completely different conclusions. So the same reviews covering the same topics may have diverse conclusions, and both can be published by the same or different journals. So pay attention to your search strategies. When you draft systematic reviews, combine comprehensive searches with adherence to Equator Network standards. Always consider combination of approaches used by Rheumatology International and Equator Network standards. Sometimes it is necessary to cite articles from top evidence-based journals like Lancet, and you should know how to process articles, retrieve articles from these journals like Lancet. Here I presented, before starting review articles, you should clarify whether similar reviews are published or not. And this trick is used by some of our followers. So try to understand whether Lancet or New England Journal of Medicine have already published similar reviews or not. Then search through Cochrane database of systematic reviews to understand whether your systematic review is innovative or not, whether similar review is covered extensively by other sources. And always try to use mesh terms, even for Scopus or Web of Science searches. You are medics and you should use structured keywords coming from medical subject headings, from mesh. Here I present an example of Behçet syndrome as a keyword, mesh keywords. You know that we use Behçet syndrome and Behçet disease as interchangeable keywords, and it's correct. You may use Behçet syndrome or Behçet disease for Scopus searches as well. Now, why we need Scopus? First of all, Scopus covers 100% of Medline index articles. It's important point for medics. Scopus is the largest bibliographic database. It's the largest non-Anglophone bibliographic database, and university rankings currently depend on Scopus index journals. I am familiar with all experts of or chairs of Scopus who carefully select and deselect or discontinue indexing Scopus index journals. So I know experts in the field of medicine, social sciences, public health, immunology, etc., etc. So all these experts carefully select and recommend for indexing Scopus for Scopus coverage the best journals. Now, tips for Scopus systematic searches. Remember and try to use these approach for your narrative and systematic reviews. Identify keywords. Estimate total number of articles in your field of interest. Consider highly cited articles, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, it depends. And if you solely focus on these top cited articles, you may produce bibliographic analysis. Visualize annual publication activity. Rank top cited sources like journals mostly covering your topic. Rank top authors, rank affiliations. Then consider also country-based activity. Identify some prevalent areas and analyze keywords or visualize using voice viewer or other approaches. To understand better this approach, I presented here example of Behçet's thesis. You see an impressive number of articles. I ranked these articles, and of course, I know top cited articles in this field. Then I pay attention to annual publication activity, top journals covering this topic, top scientists mostly working, publishing in this field, top countries interested in Behçet's disease, types of articles covered by Scopus, original research, reviews, other types of articles, fields of science or areas mostly related to Behçet's disease, and also sponsoring or funding organizations. So our journal editor should pay attention whether they publish articles where funding sources are disclosed or not, because Scopus, Web of Science track these funding sources. And of course, the most important part of Scopus searches is keywords analysis. We may pay attention to most important, in quantitative terms, most important keywords, and may also calculate percentages, but there is also voice viewer approach, qualitative approach used for specific bibliographic approaches. Now about COVID-19, another example. Number of articles is increasing in this field, and we still rely on top cited articles describing initial cohort coming from Wuhan, China. And you see that these articles published in Lancet, top cited, top promoted, well promoted on social media with combined citations and altmetric attention approaches, and we should pay attention to these important highlights where these articles are promoted, discussed by news outlets, by Twitter users, by those who cite this article, by Mendeley users. Continuing analyzing COVID-19 articles on social media, again, we pay attention to journals covering this topic. We may choose few journals, let's say BMJ, and analyze some of the most important articles in this field. We should pay attention which countries are more concerned, more active in the field of COVID-19 publishing. And we may combine searches in Scopus, COVID-19 and mental health, and again do the same. Pay attention to most important countries, most prolific countries in view of these two keywords. Then we may combine different keywords: COVID-19 education, vaccine, thrombosis, rheumatic, Behçet's disease, and start and understand which topic are important and mostly commented, mostly cited, mostly promoted on Scopus and social media. Which factors are important for reviews and systematic reviews? First of all, remember, there is no need, when you write systematic review, you should focus on certain types of articles. Let's say cohorts, let's say clinical trials. There is no need to combine in systematic review cohort studies with clinical trials. You may combine these studies in narrative reviews, but again, you should separately analyze cohort studies and then separately clinical trials. And not all systematic reviews are up to high standards. How we distinguish good systematic reviews from bad systematic reviews? If there is no quality control of primary studies, no grade pro approach, it's a tool for analyzing systematic for primary or clinical trials, level of evidence for systematic reviews. If there is no such approach, it means that systematic review is not based on quality standards. Now, coming to the end of our webinar, I'd like to highlight important work done by editors of Archives of Rheumatology, Professor İlke Yakci and other and associate editors. We should carefully analyze who cite this journal, and for that we should regularly monitor Cite Score Tracker, which is based on 4-year analysis. So I refer to last 4-year citation analysis, and I see that you can also see that trend. In 20 articles published in 2018, cited 6 times. However, latest articles in 2020 and 2021 are overly cited. It again suggests on good editorial practice at Rheumatology International, good excellent promotion of published articles, and quality. Sometimes we also use citations as proxies of quality. If an article is well cited, or if a journal is well cited, it suggests that scientific community, rheumatology community endorses that journal. So we see that increasing incremental trend of citations at Rheumatology International. However, we should also consider which journals mostly cite Archives of Rheumatology. We should pay attention who cites Archives of Rheumatology. Of course, there are some good journals citing Archives of Rheumatology. There are some prolific authors who cite your journal, let's say Özgür Kasapçopur, like Amra Adrovic, Sibel Balci. So these are prolific authors who cite your articles. So next year we'll revisit this citation trend and see who often cites your journal. So this trick is important to understand who is more concerned with quality, with promotion of our journals. So you can see that we live in the era of tight competition, win-win practice. We should pay attention to all points to advance in this highly competitive publishing market. And we should also pay attention not just to citations, not just to social media metrics, but also to ethics, relevance, clinical importance. So all our articles should bear points of interest to clinicians and should influence clinical practice as well. Over to you, Olena.
Thank you, Arman, for your elegant and very informative presentation. We have positive feedback from our participants.
You share that positive. I'd like to know about positive comments.
Yes, of course. For example, many thanks for excellent presentations, especially about web-based informations and specific digital programs about scientific writing. Yes, from Burhan Fatih. Thanks for the enlightening explanations.
Guy, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Rising star in PMR and clinical rheumatology. Thank you very much, Burhan Fatih Koçyiğit. And I'm sure you will continue writing and targeting good quality rheumatology and general medical journals. Thank you for your participation. Other comments?
One question to you, which are the main tips to combine bibliometric and altmetric searches? Shall we rely on both of them as a clinicians? Because remember that we are all busy clinicians.
Yeah, Olena, you are right. So we need bibliometric and altmetric analysis to understand importance of clinical topics. PhD fellows, PhD candidates who start their research should be guided by their research fellows, research managers, who should understand bibliometric and altmetric analysis. So citations are important, but we should understand context of these citations, positive, negative, coming from specialist journals or coming from irrelevant journals. We should understand also these citations reflect professional community opinion or just meaningless without any reflection of community approval. The same with social media metrics. We need to understand how our articles are commented on social media, whether good points are commented. Young scientists active on social media may share their articles and may discuss their articles with Twitter users, with other social media users who may help young researchers to pick important points from their research and may help to promote these articles. These basic approaches are important for clinicians. So busy clinicians need to understand searches via Scopus, Web of Science, to work with huge, massive, massive literature sources for their reviews, narrative and systematic reviews, to retrieve similar case reports. So our search strategies are becoming more and more sophisticated. We cannot rely on PubMed searches only. We should combine with abstract and citation database Scopus. And we need to analyze, to rank articles in our field of interest to see which articles are well cited. Then should pick articles well commented on social media and understand why these articles are well commented, whether there is negative context of discussion on Twitter and other social media platforms. To our Turkish friends who use Instagram Of course, they should continue using Instagram as valuable social media networking and scholarly communication platform. However, they should remember that Instagram is of no value for altmetric attention score. And if they wish to increase global visibility and global importance social media-wise, they should use other social media channels as well. They should ask their research managers to use news notes, university platforms, internet platforms to actively comment published contents in your local journals, in your rheumatology journals. Archives Rheumatology is not the only rheumatology journal from Eastern Europe, from Eastern Mediterranean, and from Turkey. There are other competing journals. However, Archives of Rheumatology is one of the best and the most promising rheumatology journal because of its ranking, because of its indexing status, and because of editorial credentials of editors involved in that journal. And I express my sincere gratitude to İlker Yakci, to Şebnem Ataman, Hatice Bodur, Özgür Akyol, and also other associate editors who understand importance of ethical and positive stance. And I am grateful for their collaboration and highly professional stance.
Thank you very much, Arman. We also thank you for this valuable webinar. Olana, I think this is our last minutes about this webinar. Do you have any questions? I see two more comments from the audience. I would like to read them all. Ahmet Akyol, thanks to you. I am grateful to Tlar and all the members who contribute to organizing this webinar. I would like to thank dear Armand and Uluna for their support to PMR and rheumatology specialists and fellows in Turkey. We thank Ahmet for his kind words. And Nurdan Kotevoğlu, Professor Nurdan Kotevoğlu, thanks you for this presentation. This is very useful and informative. Do you have any comments, Olena?
Let's finalize our today's workshop to draw some conclusions and convey take-home messages to our participants.
Yes. So, firstly, as I learned from you, citation is very important. How to cite, where we can cite is very important. You firstly said that do not cite predatory journals. This is very important thing. So we have to recognize which is predatory, which is not predatory. Taking money, having money is not only thing that making journals predatory. This is very important also. Predatory means something more than this one. So this is important issue. And second, do not always cite very famous journals. This is also another important part of your beautiful presentation. So third, for the conclusion that I learned from you, if we are ethical, if we are more obeying the rules of the editorial guides, you know, COP, etc., and we can be more cited by other researchers. This is my main three conclusions, and I want to hear your last message about this webinar.
Yes, and in the time of open access, we all should remember about social media platforms
Yes,
and
true.
ethically promote our articles by via social media platforms, by Twitter. But remember that social media are double-edged sword and also can be a source of misinformation, fake information, not only reliable information.
We lived so much in COVID pandemic outbreak. Yes.
Yeah, and we are faced with barrage of misinformation coming from social media. So we should be very careful, and we should ask social media editors to carefully select and promote the most useful contents in archives of rheumatology and other journals. And of course, our participants or viewers, offline viewers, are also advised to use social media for ethical promotion of their own works, journals of their interest, and also to communicate, to collaborate with the researchers to discuss important points on Twitter, on Instagram, other social media channels, to archive their PDFs of their articles on Researchgate, to use institutional repositories in view of copyright licenses and other distribution licenses, and promote their articles locally and globally. So today's webinar is main message, of course, by Professor Yakji discussed these main three messages. But of course, we should continue working on writing practices, and we should expand these list of recommendations to PMR and rheumatology fellows, because authors, reviewers, and editors should be skilled enough to process with databases, with target journals, should be skilled enough to avoid predatory publishing practices, to avoid useless journals, and to draft quality articles even for local journals. Archives Rheumatology is one of the best rheumatology journals, and I am sure this journal next year will be celebrated for higher impact factor, better work on promotion, and more active promotion on social media. So we'll see next year. We'll have chance. And of course, TILAR administration pays due attention to quality, to promotion, and of course, it's important. Without support of TILAR administration, these type of webinars haven't been possible over the past two and more years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arman, for your kind words. Thank you very much, Olena, for your contribution to journal and also contribution to webinar also. Every webinar, I learned a lot. I hope our participants learned a lot too. And our webinars will continue, I think. And this is just a point of view for this webinar. And we will start to increase our knowledge about how to plan a study, how to write a study, and how to make our promotion of the journal and also of our articles. So we will try to plan better and more comprehensive webinars in near future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Stay
healthy. Neslihan Gökçen also thanked us, and Ahmet Akyol asked a question, but I don't know what it is. Would you recommend using Weaver for bibliometric studies? Do you have any idea?
Yeah. So I presented just one slide produced by Viewer. So when we deal with bibliometric analysis and when we try to publish bibliometric study, we often need tools like Viewer, just cloud-based technique to visualize keywords, connections between authors in different journals, different countries. So those viewers are highly recommended. And of course, I know that some authors from Turkey actively publishing bibliometric analysis in rheumatology. These type of articles are welcome for good journals, and I think that these type of articles will be also well cited. So citations are also important for us.
Thank you very much. So, dear friends, thank you for contribution, and we will see you in near future. Thank you. So, değerli meslektaşlarım, buradan sonrasını Türkçe olarak veda etmek istiyorum. Özgür Hoca'ya vermiş olduğu teknik destek, aynı zamanda arkadaşlık için çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Ben teşekkür ederim herkese katkılar için. Thank you very much.
Trust'a çok teşekkür ederiz bu webinarların gerçekleşmesini sağladığı için. Hepinize güzel bir hafta sonu diliyorum. Görüşmek üzere.